Today's lesson is on operations with decimals. Now, there are 4 operations in mathematics: adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And remember that true learning is about making connections to things that you already know. So, if we view this lesson through the lens of a 6th grader, you actually already know quite a bit about decimals. Decimals are introduced in 4th grade in connection with what you're learning about with fractions and understanding our number system and place value. From there, in 5th grade, you're introduced to the operations and actually making sense about the size and value of decimals. And then in 6th grade is really where you have that fluency of doing all 4 operations with multi-digit numbers with decimals. And then the goal is really to have that application piece. Why do you use it? What does it look like in the real world? And so that's what we're going to be looking at today. Our goal for today is to be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fluently using the algorithm for each operation. So there are a few things we want to keep in mind before we get started. First is the decimal point, and it looks a little different whether you're adding, subtracting, or multiplying or dividing. So first, when we're adding and subtracting, you need to line up the decimal point. You want to be adding whatever's in the ones place value with what other numbers in the ones place value, what's in the tenths, with what's in the tenths. So the decimal point needs to be lined up whether you're adding or subtracting. And then for multiplication, I like to kind of just think of moving your decimal point out of the way. If I move it out of the way 2 times, then I need to move it back in 2 times for my answer. So you need to keep track of that movement for each number. And then with division, it's very similar. You're going to be moving the decimal point, which is essentially multiplying by 10 or changing the place value. But where we want to pay attention to that movement is with the divisor. So the divisor is the number that's on the outside of the tent, or when you're dividing, like 18 divided by 3. 3 is your divisor, the number on the outside of the tent. So the divisor has to be a whole number. So that's where we're going to be moving our decimal point with division. Depending on how many place values we need to move it out of the way for the divisor is how many then we'll move it for the dividend. So let's get into it. We're adding decimal points, and remember we want to line up our place values to find the sum, and the word sum means the answer to an addition problem. So we have a simple problem to start off with: 5 tenths plus 3 tenths. The decimal points line up, and we have 5 plus 3 gives us 8. The decimal point stays in the same spot, and our answer is 0.8 is how you write it. The way you say it is 8 tenths. Let's look at number 2 here. 15 and 2 tenths plus 3 and 4 tenths. So 3 and 4 tenths, the decimal points line up. We have our ones place value lined up with the ones, tenths with the tenths. 2 plus 4 is 6. 5 plus 3 gives us 8. And 1 plus nothing is 1. So our answer is 18 and 6 tenths. Let's look at our last example here, number 3. We have 2 and 7 tenths plus 1 and 25 hundredths. So this again is another example. We want to make sure we have our ones here lined up, our tenths lined up. There's nothing in the hundredths place value here, so you can add a 0 if you like. Zeros can be used as place value holders. So 0 plus 5 gives us 5. 7 plus 2 is 9. Our decimal stays in the same spot because we're adding 2 ones plus 1 1 gives us 3 ones. So our answer is 3.95. The way you say it is 3 and 95 hundredths. With subtracting decimals, remember we want to line up our place values just like we did with adding. You're going to find the difference. The difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. We have 9 tenths minus 4 tenths. And we just make sure that decimal point is in the same column. 9 minus 4 is 5. So 0.5, 0.5 is the same as 5 tenths, or 50 hundredths. 5.5 minus 2.5. So this is another good example. The first number has 2 digits. The second number has 3 digits, and I'm subtracting. So this again is where we want to maybe put in that place value holder 0, especially since we're subtracting. I can't do 0 minus 5. I have to borrow 10 minus 5 is 5, 4 minus 2 is 2, and then the decimal point comes down in the same spot. 5 minus 2 is 3. So 325 or 3 and 25 hundredths is how we would say it. Again, that would be a good one. You could think of money, $5.50 minus 225. We want those decimal points to line up. You want those dollar bills to line up. Okay, and lastly, let's do number 3, 13 and 75 hundredths minus 1 and 25 hundredths. Another easy one to think about with money, 75 minus 25 is 50. 75 cents minus 25 cents. 3 minus 1 is 2, and 1 minus nothing is 1. So our answer is 12 and 5/10 or 50 hundredths. You can write it either way because it has the same value. 12.5 is the way you write it. 12 and 5/10 is how you say it. Now we're going to work on multiplying decimals. Remember to move the decimal out of the way and then move it back in. And this is when we're working with multiplication, we're looking to find the product. Now, also when we multiply, remember that you can multiply in whatever order you want. 2 times 3 equals 6 and 3 times 2 equals 6. The order doesn't matter with multiplication. So you can multiply in whatever order you want. In fact, that's the reason why I was saying that is I am going to write the 1 and 6/10 first times the 4/10. You don't have to line them up. I'm going to move it out of the way, 1, 2. So I had to make 2 movements to get those decimals out of the way. And now I can think of just simply multiplying 16 times 4. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1, or excuse me, plus 2 is 6. And then we have a 0. So we have, I just made the mistake of, since we were just adding and subtracting, bringing it down. So we have 64, and then I need to move my decimal point back in because I moved it over here. Like it's hanging out over here. I need to move it back in 2 times. So my answer would be 0.64 or 64 hundredths. All right, let's look at number 2, 10.2 or 10 and 2/10 times 3 and 4/10. So 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 1 is 4. I already started going without even moving out of the way, out of habit, just because you're just doing the simple multiplication, but we moved that decimal out of the way 2 times. Okay, so now we go to our tens place value. 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 1 is 3, and then I add everything up. 8, 6, 4, 3. Kind of running out of space there, sorry. So we had 3, 4, 6, 8, and our decimal point, right, is hanging out over here by the 8. So we're going to move it 2 times back in. So our answer is 34.68. We can also think of like estimating. If I rounded this off to 10 times 3, my answer should be around 30. And that's a good way to check with decimal points to make sure. If we accidentally only moved it back in once, 346 would be way too big. We know 10 times 3 wouldn't give us a number that big for our answer. So that's a good check. Let's do this last one right here. 2.1 times 0.35. So I want my digits to line up, right? I'm going to move this out of the way 1, 2, 3 times, okay? So now I have 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 0, don't have to do anything with that guy. We got 5, 3, and 7, so 7, 3, 5, and I need to move my decimal 1, 2, 3 times back in. So my answer is 0.735, 0.735. Dividing decimals. Remember, when we're dividing decimals, we want to move the divisor so that it's a whole number. We want to move that decimal point so that the divisor is a whole number, and we're looking to find the quotient. The quotient is an answer to a division problem.
Now, the way we divide, the way you say it is the way you write it. So 1.8 divided by 0.3 or 3/10 is how we're going to write it. So our divisor is 0.3, the second term. So I'm going to move the decimal one time. Okay, so as many times as I move it for the divisor is the amount of times I need to move it for the dividend. So I'm going to move it one time. And we're simply doing 18 divided by 3. 3 doesn't go into 1. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So our answer is 6. Number 2, 2.52 divided by 0.6. So I'm going to move my decimal once, So I bring it up here. Okay, we have, and I'm going to rewrite it right here. So I moved the decimal once, so now it's 25 divided by 6. And my divisor is a whole number now. 6 can't go into 2, 6 goes into 25. Let's see, 6 times 5 is 30, that's too big. 6 times 4 is 24. With 1 left over, I bring down the 2, and 6 goes into 12 twice. So that decimal point stays where it is when I moved it here. So again, back at the beginning, I move my decimal point out of the way once. So from the 2.5, I move it once to 25.2 or 25 and 2/10. And then that's where it's going to stay for my answer. So my answer is 4 and 2/10. We're going to do some power-up problems, get that brain working. Solve each problem. Remember to first determine whether you need to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So ribbons by the cent. Carla is making gift baskets and buys 3 types of ribbons. She has a red ribbon, 2.75 meter. The gold ribbon is 1.9 meters, and the silver ribbon is 3.45 meters. How many meters of ribbon does Carla have total? So we want to think about what that word total means. We see here that we have 3 different types of ribbon. She's buying red, gold, and silver, and total means that I'm going to, what do you think? Add. So for this problem, we are adding decimals. And quite simply, I'm just going to line these puppies up. So we have 2.75 plus 1.9. So you can either do 2 first and then come back and add the third one. Let's do that. So 5, 9 plus 7 is 16. Decimal point, remember when we add and subtract decimals, we line up the place value. 2 plus 1 is 4. Okay, and then now I'm going to add the 345. So 5 plus 5 is 10. 4 plus 6 is 11. And 3 plus 4 plus 1 is 8. So we would have 8 and 10, or 1/10 of a meter. And because we have a word problem, we want to include our units. Mathematicians attend to precision. So they want to include the units in our answer. 8 and 1/10 meters is how many ribbons she has total. All right, let's look at number 2. Smoothie stand's profits. Jason earned $45.80 at his smoothie stand this weekend. So our keywords is earned. The amount of money he earned is $45.80. He spent $12.65 on fruit and $8.95 on cups and straws. How much profit did Jason make? Okay, so we have a lot of keywords here that we want to dissect to figure out, are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? So we know that total he earned $45 and then spent. So we want to ask ourselves, if I'm spending money, am I adding money, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? What do you think? That's right, we are subtracting. So, and we're subtracting both of these amounts, the $12.65 that he spent on fruit and the $8.95 that he spent on straws. So you could do this 2 different ways. You could take the $45.80 and subtract the $12.65 first. get that total and then subtract the 895. Or you could add these two up and then subtract it from the total amount. So let's do that, because I'm thinking if I went to the store and I bought those two things, both of those prices would be added up on my receipt. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 plus 6 is 15. The decimal points, I lined them up because that's what we do with decimals when we're adding and subtracting. 10 plus 1 is 11. Carry the 1, so we have $21.59 is what he spent total so that he could make his smoothies, right? That was a 5, right? Yeah. And he earned $45.80, but he had to subtract what he spent to start the smoothie stand in the first place. So now we need to borrow. 10 minus 9 is 1. 6 minus 5 is 2. The decimal points are lined up. 5 minus 1 is 4. And 4 minus 2 is 2. So his total profit, Jason's profit, is $24.21.
Today we reviewed how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimals. And really by 6th grade, we should already be fluent with this. The ultimate goal, like with anything in math, is to be able to apply it and use it in real life. And so we did do a few application problems with this as well. Can you find the answer to this problem? Only a genius can solve. 4 tenths plus 6 tenths times 6 divided by 3. The answer is not 2. Make sure to leave your comments, your answer in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more weekly math tutorials. See you next time.